Hello, everyone, and welcome back to continued coverage of Grand Prix Rome. Today, we're going to be watching a round one match between Dodger and RickyRickster. I'm going to throw it to my co-commentator Pipsqueak, who's going to tell us about each of these decks and how the matchup is expected to play out.
So Dodger is on a red-black kind of aggressive Unearth deck that's, looking to leverage Gift of the Phoenix, Distant Thunder, and similar cards to bin threats that you can then unearth either with Unearth or a bit ambitious next command. On the other side of the table, Ricky Rickster is playing a Rug Tempo deck that I built, which is planning on doing exactly that. Trading evenly with your opponent, disrupting them, and beating them to death all the while. So Dodger goldfished this matchup a little bit yesterday, and then realized that it's really hard to goldfish a matchup where one side has counter magic, so asked me to play. And in the matches we played, I lost I think one game, and the game that I lost was because I misplayed, and if I hadn't missed onboard leap, the game would have been mine. So Dodger's definitely in an uphill battle, but it
Yeah, I
feels
think
like he gets
also
better for
going
most board.
going second when your opponent can Veilborn Meddler you for one on turn two definitely is a little bit of a feels bad.
Yeah,
I mean, I think Dodger's gonna run out the Hugo, but then after that, like, still has two one drops that are just juicy, especially with like um each of both of them having discarding as an additional cost. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll take your free two for
yeah,
one friend. I think that and I think that like, yeah, I think
yeah.
Veilborn
No,
Meddler is so backbreaking that like a four lander even in this matchup is completely fine to keep on RickyRickster's side of the table.
Dodger commented that he just like if the opponent ever has Veilborn Meddler, the game just kind of ends. So we'll see how accurate that is. Um, in general, I think there's some like subtle differences though, like the fact that Ricky Rister played Tapland on one. I think that's actually like a really minor micro misplay. I think you're meant to take some damage in order to not, because while the damage matters, this is a matchup where you really want to present the fact that you could have Cosmic Sinkhole or Spell Stutter. Every time you give your opponent the free information of I don't have anything, that's incredibly useful.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I think like what's gonna happen here is Dodger's just gonna play Hugo, and then it's probably gonna get Void Flared. Do because Dodger didn't bin anything unearthable. Otherwise, I think like, or I think maybe you could maybe justify no, you could maybe justify like Gift or Distant Thunder bin Dusk Lieutenant and then try to unearth it back. But yeah,
Yeah,
if Dodger
and I
goes for that,
think
I think
that
it gets Swift Veilborn Meddlered.
I think if you do it with Gift to the Phoenix, that also entices your opponent to do Veilborn Meddler on the Gift, and then yeah, you're down one card, but you kind of wanted the the Dust Lieutenant in your graveyard anyway, so you can then just unearth it. So that would be my guess.
Yeah,
I
fair.
think
And then,
both
but
ones
then
are pretty
like, but then,
defensive.
but then, sorry, Ricky Rickster untaps and probably just Void Flares a Dusk Lieutenant, and it's like gaming.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Unfortunately, Dodger needs to fight through this interaction somehow, and that's
Oh
gonna
no,
kind of
he's gonna
suck
run
no
out the
matter how it
Hugo.
happens.
Interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I
Um,
really would have expected the gift slash distant into unearth play, but yeah, I think yeah, you let this resolve and then just Void Flare it on end. I think is conventional wisdom. TM.
yeah, I agree. I wonder if we'll see a fetch for a basic mountain.
Yeah, which is
Most
relatively
things will be
safe.
fetch.
Plus, it puts you one step closer to not taking damage from this Crystal Cavern.
Yep. The deck is built to try and maximize Bounty of the Garden, so you do have to be a little bit careful about what lands you fetch in one, but it's fairly minor. In
We're
general,
really seeing bounties
Dodger,
shine this tournament, and I think that's it's been one of those tempo cards which has been it's good, but it's kind of I feel like it's struggled to find its legs or its shell given the threats that we have, and I think it's the presence it's had this tournament so far is like, yeah, okay, we're finally getting there.
yeah, fetches a tapped Frostfire Geysers, which is an interesting call.
I definitely do
I don't
just
think it's
I
I don't think
just
it's like the wrong call because actually you still have a window to void flare this, like even if you pass the turn to Dodger, like you can and waiting to be, void flare it on Dodger's turn increases the chance you'll get something juicy with this Veilborn Meddler.
hmm, that is fair, but I think that like does open so what could happen is no, actually, yeah. I was about
It's
to
an
say,
unconventional line, but I think it's a simple one.
yeah, I was about to say, like, if Dodger went in for the attack, Rickster let it happen, and then tried to kill it main two, but then Dodger distant thundered, it would be like, oh, that's a problem. But I
Yeah,
think
but
that
just
I think that like
don't do
if
that then.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The reason I was thinking of that is that like sometimes you can feel like, oh man, they went to attacks and like and like I what if I can just take the one, because otherwise what was the point of like waiting until their turn to get the information if they're not doing anything?
So this is actually hype because Gift of the Phoenix does the damage to you, and Hugo doesn't care about who gets dealt damage
Mm-hmm.
or what gets dealt damage. It just cares that someone got damage.
Yep.
So
So
now Dodger can actually um,
the void
outgrow
flare.
basically. Yeah.
So yeah, this is a problem. So yeah, Rickster is just gonna
Oh
go in for the
nope,
void.
I lied actually because Void Flare, you cast Distant Thunder. Distant Thunder gets Veilborn Meddler. Game ends.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
So
potentially. But then but then I mean like then main two, um, I'm gonna unearth back my Dusk Lieutenant, and you don't have an answer for it. I guess Dodger. I mean, sorry. I guess Rickster has Bounty of the Gardens, but then it's like, cool. I'll just use my other high value three drops to get
that
you out of the game.
is
Okay, bounce. So the idea is Bounty for three, eat the Hugo, but that doesn't work because Hugo has Menace. So this is not the play. This is not the play, Ricky. Also makes the Lovey Awoken token. Oh, the humanity.
to be fair, it would be cooler if that token did have hexproof and trample. Um,
But yeah, reading
Ricky
the card explains the
Rister is
card.
Ricky Rister is one of the new players to this format. Only two off that. So I definitely don't. I'm not throwing any shade for being playing against entirely unfamiliar cards with entirely unfamiliar cards. It's a process.
That's
I'm
fair.
I'm very glad that we have new blood in the format one way or another.
Yeah, I do also think that like though if you're playing like even assuming that Ricky was has read their own cards and like is like is like familiar with like hey I know what bounty does and know what I want to do with it. I feel like you do want to like hold bounty back in general to let it grow as big as possible, especially when you have other
Hmm.
things you can be doing.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a deck where that's less true than in most places. Like
Also, we're seeing some
you're
fat synergy. I just want to point out that
Yep.
Distant Thunder discards a card, Dusk Lieutenant makes RickyRickster discard a card, kills the plant token that's dealing damage, so Hugo gets buffed. This is this is a really neat little pile of synergies over here. In a deck where I was looking at it, I'm like, wow, this is just a lot
Huh.
of cards that are good on their own. And then suddenly it's like, no, that's actually not true. They're good on their own and they work together in tandem.
Yeah, I mean it's not a Dodger deck with a bunch of like niche synergies. Um, I think not casting the Void Flare there is a really interesting decision. I assume it's because Ricky just wants to hold it until it's a bolt, but you can cash in your value versus the Lieutenant right now, and I think you kind of have to. You need to be spending your mana efficiently throughout this game, because if you start to fall behind in terms of tempo, your Ricky's deck doesn't have a lot of big catch-up cards. Um, Hugo has now escaped the range of killable with a single spell in that deck, so your only ways of killing Hugo are outsizing him in combat, which is unlikely at this point, or double spelling him, which also kind of sucks to do.
Yeah, I think like not like we talked about it and like you were like, yeah, you can void like I think letting not void flaring Hugo on Dodger's end the first turn he played it, that's fine. But then passing back and letting Dodger like untap with the Hugo, I think that was just at that point I feel like the game kind of ended in a weird way.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of little decisions where Ricky Ricky is not familiar with this deck or this format. And I don't think any single one of those, like, I think this matchup is favored enough for Ricky that it's kind of forgiving, and a lot of those decisions could have been made, and you could still have won. But just the sum total of all of those decisions being made means
Also,
you can't.
definitely having Veilborn as your only interaction and not or like your only stack interaction definitely hurts a little bit more.
A little bit, but it's also the best type of stack interaction in this deck in this matchup.
Hmm. But I just mean like it couldn't hit the Hugo, so I think that like there's this I think that like I feel like when you're playing a deck with like more stack interaction, your idea is like, yeah, okay. Even if I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna answer the threats on the stack, and I think that like that could have mitigated some of this happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think the fact that Ricky's deck has 8 burn spells means it's not like all in on counter the things as they're cast. Like you do have a large win against them as they resolve, and Ricky had the tools to do so, and just like didn't
Yeah,
really
yeah.
do it.
It's interesting because I almost feel like Ricky's play reminds me of how you and Scribble were playing in the tempo matchup, but then there was a reason to do that, right? There's like
Yeah.
we're playing slowly because we're kind of like holding on to our resources and seeing
So
when's the best point to deploy them, you know?
I think we're at the point where this Veilborn Meddler needs to come down. This Void Flare needs to answer this Dusk Lieutenant. Um, like I don't think the 1/1s are good enough here.
Yeah, like this void flare is really stubbornly staying in Ricky's hand, and I'm like, dog, no. And like, I mean, like, I think this game is just because even if you answer Hugo Dusk Lieutenant, look at Dodger's hand. Like, this is incredibly
Yeah, no,
stacked.
Dodger has a bunch of gas left.
Wait, now
He
I'm actually
has
confused. Why didn't
like
Dodger cast any of it?
just probably was playing around. Just basically, you're ahead enough on board. Ricky has this mana. You don't want to play into anything. Just kind of pass. Like you don't need to develop the board more. You're ahead enough.
That's
Um,
fair, I
Oil Driller
guess.
has 8 and dies at the end of turn, so you only want to cast that when you're intending to swing. And you can play around a Cosmic Sinkhole in that turn.
Mm-hmm.
At Bloodjade Prophet, like you don't need a gas backup in this circumstance. So
Mm-hmm.
Cane Dancer helps. A good answer to Hugo is to produce a 4/4 plant and double block. Well,
Mm-hmm.
an acceptable answer to Hugo is that. I wouldn't say a good answer, but so still, like Ricky can, salvage this game. Void Flare the Dust Lieutenant, Cane Dancer plus plant, or plant plus
Yeah,
Red Elemental,
and
win
what could
Hugo.
actually happen is if Dodger plays something main, if Dodger plays the Oil Driller main one, you can play Veilborn targeting the Oil Driller, then play Cane
The
Dancer
Cane,
flashing.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's a neat line. Um, it does feel a little bit bad because you don't have a direct answer to Dust Lieutenant in that circumstance, but you don't need to.
I mean, you can also, I think that like yeah, you you can just
Yeah.
like take your beatings with the Dust Lieutenant because then I mean this Ricky is like I'm gonna hold on to this Void Flare for dear life. What's holding on for one more turn? But also, God, Dodger just ripping another threat off the top.
I mean, Dodger's deck is basically all threats. Um,
Oops,
yeah,
all
I
threats.
mean, it's definitely this is kind of how this matchup has to go for Dodger to win it, where Dodger has to get a board state, the board state can't be interacted with, and Ricky doesn't stick like a card advantage source or stabilizing source.
Okay, Dodger not playing anything main one, so won't get to do the gotcha Veilborn line.
Um, yeah, I think the Veilborn line like is very much not strictly necessary. I think you definitely want to do the Cane Dancer and Void Flare, um, and then just like address the fact that like this Bloodjade Prophet's gonna come down and Dodger could probably afford to draw at least 2 cards off of it, potentially 3. It's definitely worth.
No! Ricky, there's
Wait,
one card you didn't have to play.
huh? I mean, this does put the most power on board. Like you get a 3/3, you get a 4/4, you get a 1/2. Like I don't hate this line.
I guess
Um,
yeah, that's fair. And then what you can do is you just do two double blocks and you keep the Veilborn around as a 3/3.
yeah. Um,
And then
like
and then
this
and then
line
like
works
and
fine.
then yeah, and then like no matter what Dodger plays main 2, it can be void flared. So
All right, we picked
also
a unraveling elemental
yeah,
token
I'm
this
just
time.
is it not associated? It must be
It's
associated.
it's associated.
Okay, this is probably just like a case of new player to the format doesn't. Okay, they also got the red elementals from Scriptures of Urshot. So there's definitely a case of
Yeah,
Ricky not knowing that the
probably is just probably a case just right clicks, opens up the token section,
which
grabs red.
entirely fair. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, is gonna just take the two double blocks
Oh
and
wait, this is the wrong block.
no wait,
You
why?
should block Cane Dancer the elemental against Hugo, because then Cane Dancer survives.
Oh yeah, right you are.
It doesn't super matter, but okay. So how Ricky wins this game is Dodger pays
Oh
6 life here. Okay, never mind. The distant thunder means that Dodger probably has a lock on this.
God, yeah.
My line
But
involved like void
I'm
flare, swing,
like
friends still off the top.
I'm
Yeah,
so mad. Dodger's drawn so many cards, so many like active cards, bro.
yeah. This is definitely a match where neither player wants to draw more than 4 lands.
Mm.
And both players are operating on
Oh
exactly
yeah.
the right number of lands.
Okay.
So
Panya's not the.
Pon- Pawn is the circumstance where we want to draw the 5th land. So I
Mm-hmm.
think now what you should just do is you should pass the turn, You Void Flare the Bloodjade Prophet to preserve life total, maybe. Realistically, you save that for the Oil Driller, but you don't know the Oil Driller's coming. Oh, and you cast the Panya uh, before your Sandy gets deformed. And then if you untap, draw land, you can technically get there. Actually, you don't. You don't even Void Flare a creature. You Void Flare face. You put your opponent to 6. You cast Panya. You attack for 1, and if you drew a land, you attack for another 5, and that's lethal.
Though I do think that probably Ricky is going to be scared of another burn spell, so he'll probably Void Flare a creature here. But you're right about
Yeah.
you're right that I think that's probably a playing to not lose rather than a playing to win line.
Yeah. If you look at Dodger's deck lists, which are posted on the website, yep, is going to kill the
Yeah, Void Flare on the
creature.
Bloodjade.
Dodger only has 3 copies of, 4 Distant Thunders, 3 Fiery Tempers, so is already through 2 of them. Like, right now, I wonder if Dodger realizes just barely missed lethal. And we could see a never punish moment. Like, Ricky could draw land into burn spell. That's totally an option still. Has only seen 2 burn spells out of the
Yeah.
10
Okay, and
that
Ambition.
their deck
I
plays.
was about to say Performer Ambition gives some time, and then I realized no way. It's Ricky's.
That's swinging for
That's a
the
land.
turn.
That's a land.
You shock it in. You take the 2. You swing for 1. You swing for 5. You hope that the last card you draw
Oh
is a
no!
burn
If it turns out to not be, it's gonna be. If it turns out that that Ricky could have won if they just Void Flared face, it's gonna be a heartbreaker.
Yep, I mean, that's the only way you get better at Magic, is by losing a lot of games you could have won.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I think I would have been like, clear the board, get them out of my face. Okay, here comes. Play the tail, untap. Is it gonna be a burn spell? No! This is not the time, Cosmic Sinkhole.
Yeah, and there's no out if you keep Panya back. So there's no point in just... I think you have to scoop here, because
Yeah.
if you don't attack, you die on the swing. Sorry, if you don't attack, your Panya dies, and then you die the following turn. Like, you're never going to... I guess you should technically still keep playing, because there's a world in which you draw Rogar's face, make 2 tokens... Oh, but the tokens are tapped. Yeah, there's no out here. There's no way to make more than 1 body in the next draw.
Dodger really saying 1 sec, sorry, right before this game's the turn this game is gonna resolve essentially. I guess technically there is a world where, no, I was about to say that where Ricky finds an answer to Performer Vision, and then I realized that nope, never mind. It flips into a, what is it, 21-21, and there's
Currently at 21-21. It'll be a 23-23 soon.
oh yeah, and there's like, and that is the disadvantage of running Temur versus Bant, is that you do not have access to unconditional removal.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's fair in some extent. I do think the advantage of playing Teamer versus Bant is I don't think Bant wins this game off of Void Flare.
Yeah, no. You in Temur, your removal is you remove your opponent. So
Yeah,
also like Ignition Point plus Cane Dancer is filthy.
very true.
Okay, Oil Driller coming down. Oh, the Cosmic Sinkhole doesn't.
Still gets it.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter. That's not what this game's about. But like, hey,
and yeah, Performer of Ambition. This is the thing though. If Ricky had some sort of way to top deck, like an answer to this Urchin King, things could be different. Like if
that's true.
there could be hope.
Yeah, I'm not sure like what.
I like the
Yeah,
the
that's not it.
irony
I
of
think-
top decking Find Nothing as your last card of the game.
Staggering.
Oh Lord. So I think that
All right,
was a tense game,
put up.
and I think that it is impressive that like despite how stacked Dodgers draws were, despite the early mistakes, Ricky almost made that one back. But again,
Yeah,
it's
I think
definitely
it's really just a testament to how shit this matchup is for Dodger, that like could have lost that game up through just by like a single spell choice.
yeah. This was almost like a storybook, like fairy tale story of like you gotta play to win and not play to not lose.
If you found a bolt, Dodger, you saw the bolt.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, can't point out how dead Dodger was without giving outside inter. So sideboard wise, so
Yeah, give me a second. Let me pull it up. Okay, so looking at Dodger sideboarding here, what do you think?
So Dodger and I discussed ins and outs for this matchup. The conclusion was you want the stolen secrets, and I think we were saying you board out the fiery tempers, um, just because they're kind of clunky and you want to spend your discard outlets on other things. Um, very very clean and out. You This is a matchup where you want to be able to play around some of the interaction, but most of the hate pieces that Dodger has aren't relevant. On Ricky's side, you want to bring in the Sunken Ambitions and potentially the Shell Drains Rage. I went back and forth. I eventually settled on wanting that. And you board out all four Find Nothings. And I think I was also in favor of shaving on a Spell Stutter, but I'm not certain about that. Um, Also, we have started a game.
Got you.
Uh,
But just to confirm, you were saying shave the find nothings, maybe,
yeah, cut all Find Nothings, add in all of these Sunken Ambitions and the Shell Drains Rage,
mhm.
and consider replacing the Spell Stutter with a second Shell Drains Rage.
Got you. Okay, and with that prediction established for siding, let's get right back into the game.
Yeah. So on Ricky's end, did not cut the Find Nothings. That's
I mean, and it could pay off. Could just dome Dodgers turn two Shardstone Rift if he isn't careful. But yeah, once again has I think like turn one with Ricky tapped out, like you mentioned, not representing that. Like I definitely would have played the Wayfarer Shrine there just so you can represent,
yeah,
or actually the Magnetic Torrent, like one of the two. But like you want to represent like Cosmic Sinkhole because now there's no hesitation on Dodgers' part. Like I'll play the Gift of the Phoenix. Actually, no, not a Gift of the Phoenix.
yeah,
No, actually, yeah, Gift of the
yeah.
Phoenix.
No, you probably snap that off.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no good targets in hand to be immediately unearthed or ambitious necromancer, but you know what happens.
I think you just ditched. I was gonna say you ditched the Unearth with the Gift of the Sphinx, but now you ditched the Shardstone Rift.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Ultimately, we might see Dodger try getting on board with the ambitious Necromancer, but I don't think that's what's.
It would be kind of hilarious.
The other incentive to ditch the Shardstone Rift with this Gift of the Sphinx. Well, it depends on if Dodger's going to bother playing around Find Nothing in 2, or the fact that I said I would board out Find Nothings means that he's not going to.
Yeah. Um. I could also see ditching Hugo and then just being like, I'll unearth him back next turn. Oh my God, yeah.
Exactly the line that we saw. Interesting.
Okay,
So
and it immediately draws into the three
if
drops,
you're
which I think
Ricky,
Dodger didn't want to ditch a land to get, probably because he's like,
yeah,
I want to hardcast some of these bad boys.
and if you're Ricky, you're gonna just snap off this Portal Fracture every single goddamn time.
Mm-hmm. But for now, is gonna if Dodger doesn't play the basic swamp, like shard. Oh, not another Shardstone Rift. Okay, yeah, okay. Slaps off the basic swamp first. Okay, but yeah, this is quite okay. Yeah, so you portal fracture this now, right? Or do you
Correct.
wait? You portal fracture
Nope.
this.
You Portal Fracture it.
No, actually, you could, because it doesn't have any immediate impact on the board, so you could just let it come back and then Rogar's Frenzy on end. If Ricky doesn't play anything on end here, I'm
I
gonna.
guess that's true. Like, I mean, you're going to fetch and stuff, but I generally like saving the board impact spells for the mid to late game when they become more powerful, and using
That's
the
fair,
counter
but then I
spells
think the
early when they
reason
are
to not run
at
out
their
the portal
weakest.
fracture is that like Oil Driller and Bloodjade Prophet have like you want to like stymie their ETBs, while Hugo is
Well,
just like
if you kill the oil driller, you don't care about its ETB.
oh actually yeah that's fair, but like Bloodjade Prophet and what was the
Yeah,
other one? There's the El Mare one, which is and stuff like that.
yeah. This deck is playing the Duskfleet Lieutenant, I think is
Oh
what it's called.
yeah, the Forebode discard one, yeah, the 4/2,
Yeah.
yeah,
So maybe that's the play. Maybe that's what you're trying to um, decide around. But
yeah.
um, yeah, so we're seeing this kind of pause at end to figure out which lands to get, how to cast Rogar's Frenzy, I assume. If we're to see Basic Island and
Pro-
Frostfire Geyser.
yeah, Island Frostfire.
Yeah. If we're
Ricky.
doing, in that case, we're going to see Prodigious Panya being played. It's interesting. I'm not like fully opposed to that.
I think my main thing
It's
is like after seeing last
I
game,
think
how can you be like I'm gonna let this Hugo ride. He seems like a nice guy who definitely won't grow past my ability to actually like answer him.
no, that's a fair point. Like it's definitely a big liability to not just answer the Hugo while you do this. Um, but I don't think it's like
And the
a
problem is
mistake
that you
that can't be punished, I guess is where I'm at. Like I think you can get away with making that decision
I think the thing is like okay, let's
if the
say
rest of your game plan works out.
that's fair. Okay, and so they're gonna Rogar see, but now Rogar's they have to their Rogar's friends and Hugo on their main, which means that they can't find nothing one of these fetches, which means that Dodger is gonna be able to
Yeah,
play like
I
they
dislike
can't
this.
stop him.
Yeah, I dislike this now. I think once you're committed to letting the Hugo ride, you need to let the Hugo ride. I don't think you can afford to like make the decision down the line that like, no, actually, I want to kill him now that it's my turn,
And now Dodger's set up for a whammy.
which is the
Um,
technical. I mean, can't cast this Oil Driller and oh sorry, can't cast this Bloodjade Prophet
so
and
you just go for
Ambitious
Oil Driller.
Necromancer. Yeah, so you'd go for Oil Driller. You hope to pick something back up. That's good. It's totally possible you regrow both lands.
Mm.
Um,
Wait, oh yeah, because one of them is okay. So Unearth,
Grabbing the Unearth is a pretty great thing because you can unearth back the Oil Driller.
yeah, not bad at all. So you probably just grab back the Unearth so you can do it all again.
Yep, I have established a.
There we go. And Oil Driller dies on end. So not irreversible.
No,
There's still, I think that Portal Fracture can't actually kill the Unearth, which is gonna suck. But you can definitely find nothing one of the Shardstone Rifts,
yeah,
and
and
then
like,
just figure it out
yeah,
from there.
it's still potentially fine. Throwing
Another
the second
Unearth.
Unearth is kind of scary, but like, it's not. I wonder if you should unearth both things, um, because Hugo can then benefit, and also getting two unearths in the graveyard. Whoa, why would you? That is a very aggressive Portal Fracture.
Yeah, huh. I guess the thought is I don't know what the
It's not
thought
worth
is.
tying up. It's not worth tying up the mana. Like, I'll tell you that much. Like, I guess you get bodies. Maybe it's just for the bodies.
Be for the bodies, but now Bloodjade Prophet can come down unhindered. I guess the good thing is this doesn't put Ricky off find nothing. Can still find nothing in the
That's
Shardstone Rift.
true, I suppose. That's
Hmm.
not really like what this matchup's about.
I mean, yeah. Now the Dodgers. I think. Okay, the reason I mentioned that is, um, it would have
Especially
mattered.
now that
It would
Dodgers
have
have
mattered
coverage.
if Dodger didn't have the second Shardstone Rift, because then you can put Dodger off of Bloodjade Prophet mana. With the double Shardstone Rift, it's a wrap. But then I think that like that's still like it's still a point in Ricky's ability to
Yeah, I
play
mean,
the game, if that makes
and
sense.
hey, it's still worst case scenario with cycles, right? Like that's one of the reasons you can get away with running find nothing in this deck is the worst case scenario is it cycles.
The best case scenario is you play it, you rip a Cane Dancer, you play it again.
The worst case scenario it cycles. The best case scenario, it turns out that Imp Siege now cantrips.
Yeah, and is instant speed, and also can stop epic encounters and such. Just counters a bunch of
Yeah,
other random. But yeah, so Dodger is going to get find nothing. Doesn't care too much about it again because Shardstone Rift number two is going to let Bloodjade Prophet ride. It does.
drawing another land here
Yeah,
is a
it
little.
matters okay. It matters a tiny bit, and the reason I say that is that Dodger can't unearth plus Bloodjade Prophet in this.
So I think what you do here is you fetch and you Panya, and you get him for three, then another seven, and Dodger's at one.
That sounds
Whoops.
pretty not bad, and it's not like Dodger
If you
has.
draw a single burn spell, you win the game.
Yeah,
And also you get to have Cosmic Sinkhole mana up the following
yeah.
turn and play a Lumbering Hillock that can represent lethal.
Alternatively,
But
Panya herself can represent lethal if your opponent doesn't have Distant Thunder. So yeah, sounds like a good time.
yeah, again, it's really something that like we spent all this
Wait,
time
wait,
being like,
why? Oh,
Dodger sees the writing on the wall. I mean, the fact that Dodger will need to shock out a land, um, I'm not fully sure. That feels like an early GG, but I don't think
were
it's.
we missing some math?
We might have been missing something. But I also
That's
think that the chance of Dodger winning that is basically zero. So I don't think it's unreasonable to scoop there.
yeah.
Um,
With Dodger having an empty board, like you need a Distant Thunder plus have some way to put
oh
two
yeah, you
bodies.
you you need to put more bodies in play than Dodger could with the man that he had access. Yeah,
Hmm.
no, that scoop makes sense. Um,
Okay.
yeah, in general, the thing that I was saying is it really just shows how lopsided this matchup is that we spend the entire game like saying, "Oh, why is Ricky doing this? Why is Ricky doing this?" And just floops into a win. It's just like, "Oh, never mind. Guess that's good."
I mean, it's also like in both situations where we've almost had that. It's just that Panya represents so. Panya is her like. Don't be fooled. Her tail may say take an extra turn, but what it really says is 5 mana lava axe. Just
Yeah, I mean, and that's why Ponya's in the deck, right? She provides reach and this kind of late game value burst that you can't get out of really anything else.
yeah, and like I think having a 1 mana threat that you can hold up with your cosmic
Cosmic
sinkholes
Sinkhole.
is so great. Also, turn one
Yep.
ambitious necro from Dodger. Um, Ricky's hand is a
Um,
little threat heavy right now. Um,
yeah, I mean, the
I
double
don't
Ponya is
hate
kind of
it.
awkward.
Yeah, I don't hate it,
The deck,
but it's like You probably like
The deck only
Panya
runs
and
two
like
Panyas, so drawing both of them is not always where you want to be.
I mean, okay, what kind of sunken ambitions hit reliably?
Everything.
I mean, I just mean like, where is it actually worth you?
Most places, like genuinely, it's just if you bounce your opponent's creature when you have any pressure on board, it's game winning.
But next turn, Ricky is gonna get stolen secreted, and then Dodger doesn't have any way to bin stuff. Otherwise, that ambitious necro would
Yeah.
have been. You probably just run out Panya in response. No, okay, no, actually, no, I was gonna run out the Hugo. Okay, so never mind. I think I tunneled vision on the stolen secrets because of the ambitious necro, but I guess the thought is just wait until you
Huh.
have something in grave and then stolen secrets.
I'm kind of tempted to trade Panya for this Necromancer because you have the
Well, wow,
backup
yeah,
Panya in hand.
yeah.
Like now
I
you
mean,
just get 1 mana, kill their 1 drop. Basically mental misstep.
um, oh, but that does put Hugo. Oh my God, yeah, because it still dealt damage. Hugo does go up to
Yep.
two.
I mean,
Oh man,
remember how we were talking about what the purpose of
guaranteed
Sunken
having
Ambition
Hugo
is?
in. I think guaranteed having Hugo every time in this matchup is actually filthy, like legitimately filthy.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why Sunken Ambition is such a powerful card in this matchup is because it doesn't matter how much Hugo has been balling out of control. When you just want to get rid of him, he's gone.
That is, yeah, not yeah, 100%. Okay, so if you're Ricky, yeah, okay, that's fair. I was gonna say the Wayfarer Shrine to make it a little ambiguous. No, not
The
more
other
hand
advantage
attack.
of Wayfarer's Shrine is you can also then bounty the gardens if you want to.
Yeah. So Deformed Sanity would have been absolutely filthy with the Ambitious Necro, but
Yep,
fortunately that's
good
gone.
reason to have traded off.
Hmm.
I suspect we'll see Deform Sanity pitch Schengen.
Yeah, that seems like a valid play.
In Ricky's spot here, I think you should just take the 2 damage.
I mean, yeah, there's nothing
Um,
much you can.
like it's fine.
Ooh, Dodger's tapping out for the Dusk Lieutenant. Okay, Portal Fracture time.
Yep, always nice to be able to cash that in the early game, especially because you can always snap it back later
Mhm.
with Cane Dancer.
And yeah, now okay, and now I feel like these hand attack pieces are not actually super great because like Dot
There's
because Ricky
yeah
can just be like okay, sunk in response, Sunken Ambitions Hugo, Flash and Panya. I guess you can have my bounty or my Cosmic Sinkhole, but I don't give two. Oh,
yeah
again, the problem is the more threats that Dodger draws, the little bit shakier this becomes, though.
yeah, and is finally cashing in the Sunken Ambition. I do wonder if that's a little premature, but
Yeah, I think maybe the thought is like if Dodger tries to recast it now, you can Cosmic Sync, like bait him into being like, you know what, fine, you bounced it,
that's
cool, I'll just re.
that's a good point. That's a good reason to do the line that way. Um, Especially
But
because
yeah,
Dodger
as long as
presumably would
Dodger,
have cast hand attack last turn.
yeah. So yeah, Dodger can still just go like Stolen Seekers or Deformed Sanity, grab the Cosmic Sinkhole, and then cast
Yeah.
Hugo. Or is Dodger gonna get greedy and go for the Performative Ambition? I feel like this is not the point of the game where you really want it.
I mean, your opponent just spent one of the 3 Sunken Ambitions they have. I mean, I don't know. Actually, you're right, because all the burn spells still hit it.
Yeah, and you can like empty your I guess you can empty your hand with you want to wait until players are like almost out of cards. Okay, and yeah, Deformed Sanity is going to come down, ditching the Schengen. I think if you're Ricky, I think you play Panya because now even if Dodger wants to play Hugo, you can still just you can fetch a regular island with your Wayfarer Shrine and counter it. So
That's true.
of course, I mean this is assuming that no wait Ricky's Forest Bounty of the Gardens for three.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that.
I do think that the Panya is a little bit more important than the bounty.
Well, your voice just went intensely robotic. Not sure if that was an issue on your end or just mine.
It's probably audio crimes.
Gotcha. Okay. It's very worried for a moment. Yeah, I think this is actually not a great move because we've seen how powerful Panya is and this is your second Panya. You only run 2. So if you threw one away, you definitely want to have the other one resolved. I I don't think this is Ricky throwing away this win entirely. Um,
Mm,
but I definitely feel like this card does a lot more than a random Watch Wolf, right?
yeah, and I think the problem was like, yeah, before like if you played Panya first, and then it was like okay, they grabbed my Cosmic Sinkhole and my Bounty of the Gardens, but I still have this card which represents it's like a threat and it can represent just burst damage out of nowhere, and I have 4 lands, so I know if I draw a fifth, I can immediately run it out. Now it's a little bit
Right.
dicier. Veilborn
Very true.
it's not actually it's a little late.
Yeah, it there's nothing that it can snag. Realistically, like you still play it out because it can still grow,
Mm-hmm.
but
Do
I
you
think
play
we're
the
starting to
performer?
reach the
Oh
point.
no, he's gonna play Hugo. I was almost
I
thinking I would not
I
hate
think
playing
I
the
would have
performer.
preferred to play performer here, but
Or I would have played the Bloodjade. Okay, actually no.
oh
Okay,
no, this makes
Schengen.
sense. I didn't realize it also had the Schengen Renegade in
Yeah,
graveyard,
okay, so
so
because now
this line makes a lot more
The
sense.
Schengen blocks the elemental. Hugo is a threat.
Yeah,
Performer is, if not answered, win on the spot. So I
yeah,
mean that's also true of Hugo. Oh, that's a fifth land. So yeah, that's why you played the Panya.
yep. Good flood insurance.
Like even if she's just a cantrip deal 5, like that is not bad.
Yeah. Um,
Man, and right as I was trying to gas you up earlier, Bounty of the Gardens, why you gotta do
I wouldn't say Bounty's a bad card, but
this?
I definitely don't think it's showing itself off this matchup.
Mm,
All it's really doing is big dumb beater. Which
mhm.
like, hey, sometimes you need those.
Speaking of big dumb beater, gonna be hitting in for 4 damage. Ricky can like flash and Veilborn double block Hugo. I don't hate that.
I um yeah, I kinda like that line. Like you trade Billborn for Hugo, you still have a 3/3 left around, you're down to 11. You're just kind of at the mercy of both of your top decks. But you have a similar number of haymakers that'll get you out of this, as Dodger has haymakers that'll put you into it.
The problem is
So
Dodger actually has one of those in hand. Yup, here comes the Performer of Ambition.
yeah, I mean if Ricky like draws a Rogars off the top, this game's back at parity. Um, I think Ricky has lost.
Yeah, I think that's officially losing right there. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a sunken ambitions into a burn spell could do it.
it could help, but like needed. The issue is when this swings, you're about to go so far behind, because not only is this performer going to eat your creature, it's going to gain Dodger 15 life in the process,
I mean,
and
that's
then your
assuming
hope
that
of
Dodger
like
sacks the Schengen Renegade, which I guess is like, I guess you could just
I think
assume
that's the
that.
correct move, and like it removes your ability to like bullshit Dodger out of the game. Like Dodger has the life to work with, and you need to like just kind of undo and make up for all of your past mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
is kind of a hard ask.
Okay. So another Unearth me Bloodjade Prophet. What?
That's a good way to spend some life. You should just take the 6.
Just take the
I
6
guess you
and
don't
gain it
need the
all back.
deformed sanity, but otherwise, I would I would probably take at least. Why?
Maybe Dodger forgot about the lifelink indestructible and is like, I just don't want to lose this game to someone. I could see that being the
Yeah, I
case.
mean, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think that
Here comes
makes
a
the most sense.
Urch.
Um, I disagree with that decision from Dodger. However,
The Schengen copy is not worth.
life is good. Having large
And
amounts of
that's
life versus
Flood.
the deck. Yeah,
Jeez.
I mean, you can attribute to like, oh man, flooded so hard, but like, Ricky also I think really misused resources in that last game, including throwing away 1 or 2 pieces of flood insurance. Um,
Yeah, I think
and I
like
think
it was Flood combined with mistakes in the early game that could have mitigated this Flood being.
yeah, and I mean
Like I also
in
think
general this
like the Rogar's play put them back a little bit on tempo, um, and then you
that
had
was last game.
that was last game.
That
Jesus
wasn't
Christ,
Rogers this game.
they're
They all
all
kind of play out the same though.
my bad. But yeah,
But yeah, I mean I agree with you. In general, this is why I'm a little bit suspect every time someone complains about dying because of flood or whatever, because it only tells part of the story. Because well, I'm not saying you never die because of flood. Frequently, you die because you flooded out and thus didn't have like the piece needed to pull you through the situation. But that sometimes meant you threw things away.
yeah. Like sometimes you can trick yourself into believing. Yeah, I'll draw another card so I can like play aggressively here. And sometimes like you can frame that as like we were talking about earlier, like playing for the win rather than playing to not lose. But you also have to be like cognizant. Like you have to realistically evaluate your available resources in doing so, right?
Right.
So if you're
Playing
like
to win doesn't mean just playing cards out at random. It means you have a strategy of how you're going to win. Do that strategy correctly.
yeah, and like if your strategy is trading resources and then coming out on top, you got to make sure that you have some guarantee to come out on top. Like you need like some like visible card advantage, and
Yeah,
not just like I have haymakers I can rip them off the top, because sometimes you don't.
basically you should never plan to outdraw your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Your plan in a game of Magic should always be more complex than I'll draw better. Because even if it's sometimes true that that works out, that should not be the plan.
Yeah, it's gonna run out one day, and that's gonna be a hard fall. But yeah, okay. On that really fun and not at all depressing note.
Toxic note.
Yeah, exactly. um, I'm gonna be wrapping up this match commentary. Thanks for joining me, Pip. Hope we get to commentate more throughout the course of our 44-person GP. It feels crazy to say that. How
Yeah,
MSEM has blown up. Oh man.
I'm so proud of everyone who has, made this happen. Everyone has
Hmm.
designed cards or played in an event or done extensive coverage of events. Like, we would not be here without everyone.
Yeah. And now, on that marginally less toxic note, I'll see you all next time for further commentary on Grand Prix. This is Caillou signing off.